got a lot of ground to cover. This is how to win friends and influence people with Framer. So I'm going to start off and make an assumption. And that assumption is that if you're here, you'll understand the value of prototyping. You know why it's an important part of the design process. I'm not going to spend any time going into that. If you need to be convinced of that, go read the internet. It's been written about ad nauseum, so I'm not going to cover that here. Also, I'm going to assume that if you're here, you work with software of some sort. And if you've been working in software for more than like a week, you're aware of the fact that there are kind of overwhelming amounts of prototyping tools available right now. If you're in the Slack group that Patrick talked about a little bit earlier, in the tools channel in there, I think about every other week, conversations around prototyping tools come up. Which prototyping tool is best? What do they do? Mr. Taylor over there threw up UXtools.co. It's a great resource to get a side-by-side checklist of what the tools do. There's also a handy resource for pulling down these logos. Thank you. And like even just this morning, I was on Designer News and there was another tool that popped up. Like, they're coming out all the time. And so prototyping is kind of in a state like everything else in technology right now, where there's no silver bullet. It's all about trade-offs. And so some tools do things better than others. They all have strengths and weaknesses. And it's about finding the right tool for the job. So obviously today, we're going to be focusing in on what kinds of jobs Framer is kind of best suited for. First, I want to look at some of the unique benefits of Framer in the first half, and then in the second half, we'll get into some live demoing and showing you kind of exactly what building out Framer prototypes looks like. So, when we talk about Framer, first thing we have to address is the elephant in the room. Code. Framer prototypes are built with code. It's a true story. And a lot of times when you tell designers that they're going to need to use code to build something, you get a reaction kind of like this. It's not always positive. But I get it. I actually had a similar reaction when I was first getting into prototyping. It just didn't make sense to me why you would bother learning the code just to build out prototypes. So there's all these like, I think the headline of every other prototyping tool out there is like, build things about code. And so why in the world would I spend time learning the code just to build prototypes? And when these conversations come up in Slack or whatever, like I always want to find a quick way to comment to like explain some of those benefits of building prototypes with code, but I can't never figure out like a succinct way to do that in a few sentences that write a novel in the Slack channel. So hence this presentation. It'll be 45 minutes to an hour, and hopefully I can show you some of those benefits. Also, I just want to preface it a little bit with sometimes these presentations come off as here's this tool, and it's the end-all be-all, and it does everything you ever needed more. So I want to talk about where it fits into our workflow here at Max a little bit. We start our design process in Sketch, and then when we need to validate flows, which is almost always, we bring them into Marvel, which if you haven't heard of that, it's basically like Vision, but a hell of a lot cheaper. And then past there, if we need to design more specific, more detailed interactions, show some animations, that's when we'll bring in Framer. So we don't use it on every project, we use it on a lot of projects. I spend a good amount of time in Framer. But it's not necessarily suited for every project, so I'm not trying at all to argue that like you should think about replacing your entire workflow with Framer. That's not the case. I don't think that's what the Framer team is trying to do either. So before we even look at some of the benefits, we need to do a little bit of myth busting. There's some misconceptions that I commonly see out there. This is Mythbusters Framer Edition. Yes, I have been told I bear a resemblance to Mr. Alex. You can be the judge of that. But this first misconception I want to look at is this idea that Framer is for developers. So first off, I'm not a developer. I am comfortable in HTML and CSS. I've built small websites. But like the extent of my JavaScript coding is Framer. Like I'm not going to be putting JavaScript as a marketable skill on a resume. Not going to be applying for front-end dev jobs anytime soon. Framer is about the extent of my code skills. And I actually got into Framer by way of Pixate, if you've heard of that. I was building prototypes in Pixate for almost a year. And it's a good tool, but it just, as prototypes started to scale and get more complicated, it didn't really scale with me. So basic things like apply a bunch of animations to a layer, and then you want to apply the same animations to another layer, but there's no way to copy and paste. So you end up doing a lot of repetitive, redundant, boring work. And about the time I was getting frustrated with this and looking around, they got acquired by Google, and the team went dark for like 6 months. All these features they lost. But the good news was using Pixate actually turned out to be a really good introduction to, because the way you set up events and animations in Pixate is very similar to the way you set them up in Framer or just by writing code programming in general. Oh no, spoiler alert. There we go. I would actually still recommend Pixate as a tool if you're really not into the idea of coding your prototypes. Check it out. Use it, build things with it. About the time you get frustrated with all the repetitive work with Pixate, you'll be ready to get up. Also, one other idea kind of related to this, Framer is not a production framework. So it is not like equal to like React or Angular or whatever the JavaScript framework that we use. It is a prototyping tool. That is what it's meant to do. And while I suppose you could build a real app with it, that would kind of be like this gift that I spoiled earlier. It's kind of like trying to hammer a nail with a banana. Maybe you could freeze dry the banana and make that work, but you're really using the wrong tool for the job. Which kind of leads to my next point. Next misconception is, if I had to code, I may as well build a real thing. First off, no. Second off, are you really going to build a real thing? Really? If you are, kudos to you. It's great that you have that skill set. But this idea that designers should code does not have to equal writing production code. I think there's a shift in mindset that we can take, and that is that code can actually be a useful design tool, and it doesn't use tool. There are things that are easier to do in code. There are things that are better to do in code than they are in any sort of drag and drop tool. And so the way I think about it is, it's just another option. It's just another tool in the tool chest that you can pull from. It doesn't mean I don't contribute code to our mobile apps. It doesn't have to mean writing production code. There are a whole list of things you have to worry about when you're writing a real app you don't worry about when you're prototyping. So security, optimization, performance, all these things. Like, I don't care about when I'm prototyping. I'm more concerned about discovery and exploration. Most of the time, my prototypes, like, you'll go through a flow once, and then you don't have to like hard reset it. You can't do that in real app. Also, I'm just moving around PNG slices. I'm not making database calls. It looks real, but there's actually nothing going on behind the scenes. So there's a world of difference between writing code for a prototype and writing code for a real app. So the next one, you'll hear this sometimes, that you should learn real JavaScript first. And this comes up because Framer prototypes are built with JavaScript. It's a flavor of JavaScript called CoffeeScript, which is kind of like a preprocessor subset of JavaScript. I'll get into more of that a little bit later. And so you'll see people say things like, well, the best way to learn code is to learn real JavaScript first and then come back around on our CoffeeScript, a framework like Framer. And I guess I would say, yeah, that makes sense. If your kind of career path is on track to become a front-end developer, definitely you should learn actual JavaScript. But again, if your concern is mostly learning to code as a design tool, then who cares? It really doesn't matter. CoffeeScript lets me do what I need to do really well, really fast. It's much easier for me to pick up. And so, I wouldn't worry too much about like the nerd fights you're going to read on the internet. Speaking of which, if you start reading the internet, there will be lots of nerd fights about the merits of CoffeeScript. People love to hate on it. Again, as a design tool, I don't care. It does what I need it to do, and it does it really well. And so, don't let that scare you. So, with that, also, yeah, so with that, let's jump into some of the advantages. Look at some of the advantages of prototyping with code. Continuing that thought, CoffeeScript. So, let's talk about what that is a little bit more. I think when people hear that they have to write JavaScript to build prototypes, they have a mental image of something like this. This is real JavaScript. But CoffeeScript lets you write things that look more like this. And so this is actually a couple lines of code I copied out of one of my prototypes. And the interesting thing is here, these two blocks of code do the exact same thing. So you write in CoffeeScript, and then it compiles down to real JavaScript and spits that out. I don't really have much idea what's going on there. I could replicate that from scratch. Once again, don't care. But the CoffeeScript, the syntax is really clean. I found much easier to pick up. Even if you don't know how to code, I think you can look at that and kind of get a sense of what's going on. Like, it almost reads like a sentence. For layer and amount of children, when layer isn't amount 250. Okay, so we know dealing with the child layers of amount, except for this amount 250 layer. The second layer that is really true. Like, it gets rid of like a lot of the curly braces and commas and personally the difficulty I had doing in JavaScript, which is just the syntax stuff. Also, if you're familiar with CSS at all, you do a lot of things like this in Framer. So this is how you build a new layer in Framer. You say new layer, and then start specking out all the properties on that layer. And again, if you've written even basic CSS, it should feel very familiar. So I think it's a kind of a great intro to programming. It's a great way, if you've been at all interested in learning how to code, Framer is a great way to approach it because it really approaches things from a designer's perspective. And if you try to go out and pick up like vanilla JavaScript before you do this, I think what you're actually doing is making the learning curve a lot steeper than it needs to be. Because you're going to get introduced, again, to a whole bunch of ideas that just aren't really relevant for being able to build prototypes. They're more concerned with building production apps. So, being able to write things like this made it much easier for me to train. Another advantage is that code is documentation. So, whenever you build a prototype, at some point that prototype is going to have to be turned into code. And so, what happens if you need to post that prototype in like Basecamp or GitHub or whatever your communication tool is? A lot of times what ends up happening is you end up writing basically pseudocode to do that if you have to provide any level of documentation for your developers. So you end up writing like, move this layer from this exposition to this exposition of this duration with this easy. So you end up doing all that kind of work kind of anyway. With Framer, a lot of times what I'll do is just screenshot my code. So this is something I posted for our developers a week ago or something. If you name things in any sort of sensible manner, it should be pretty readable to your developers. So here I'm just setting up a closed dashboard and an open dashboard animation. And on this line right there, you can kind of see what's going on. So we're switching layers, using a slide out curve that I specified over 0.6 seconds, and then also the delay is time too. And again, this should feel familiar to your developers, which is also another advantage because code is a developer's love language. I found there's like it seems like there's a little more respect for like our ideas, and it's a little easier to push them forward when we've kind of proved out the concepts. Building code, they don't care that we're not writing like the same code that they're going to use in the production app. But it makes communication much easier. The other advantage is I've had times where like I've shown a prototype to an engineer and kind of get the reaction like, yeah, that's going to be really hard to do. And I'll say, well, I don't know if this is how we do it in the actual app, but here's how I set it up in the prototype. So kind of walk through like how I structured things. And occasionally I'll get the response like, okay, that kind of makes sense. I think we can do something like that in the actual app. So you're building empathy. You're helping your developers solve problems that they're going to probably run into. And if your idea is hard to build in framework, it's kind of a good gut check. It's kind of a sign that there might be some lack of clarity around the idea, or that maybe there's a slightly simpler way to do it, to 95% of the way there, that makes it a whole lot easier to build out in code. So it's just a good gut check, and you can decide if it's worth the trade-off, rather than just bring it over to your engineer and like, okay, well, whatever comes back, it's looking like what I intend. So another advantage is just that it gives you room to grow. So in the tools that I've used that are the non-code prototyping tools, what I run up against is you run up against the ceiling where you want to do something, but the tool doesn't have a certain feature implemented, and so you're kind of stuck. Like you're just not. You can maybe sometimes come up with a workaround. A lot of times, like some of the biggest feature requests I see on these tools is for doing certain things that are stopping people from implementing a certain idea they have. The nice thing about Framer is the only limitation to the tool is your ability to code. Which again, if you're not familiar with code, it's a pretty big limitation. But that limitation can always be you can always learn more, you can always learn new skills, and you're not stuck waiting on the team that builds the prototyping tools to implement certain features before you can execute your idea. Another advantage is there are tons of open source modules out there. So modules in Framer are kind of like plugins. They give you a head start on functionality. They extend functionality. And there are people in the community that have written lots of them. A few of my favorites are this SVG layer one, which makes working with SVGs in Framer much easier. There's actually a Sketch plugin that goes along with it. And so you can draw a shape in Sketch, and then run the plugin, or copy the SVG code to your clipboard, drop that into Framer, and then it gives you some tools to make animating with SVG much easier. So you can do things like draw complex shapes like this, which you can't do with really any other tool that I've seen except for After Effects. And so once you open that possibility, then you can do a lot more things. This comes in handy for us. I use this to do like animations on data visualizations a lot because for the charts and graphs is tricky. Yeah.
Do your programmers or your engineers, they will take that work in? It's like interpreting whatever your
yeah, well, it kind of goes back to the code as documentation idea, right? Like they can pull it up and look at the SVG, see how that's built, and then look at my code and how I built out the animations. And yeah, they're not going to implement, they're not going to copy paste my code, but they're going to be able to see how it's constructed. Another cool module that I use quite a bit is text layers. So this actually lets you get like real HTML text into your prototypes. A lot of other tools, like if you have text in your prototypes, it just ends up being PNG slices. So if you need to manipulate those at all, like, you can kind of do, you kind of fake it by like fading between layers sometimes, but sometimes that's not always the best. So this just makes it really easy to insert text and style it. Also, on top of that, there's an option with this module you can turn on to make it a live input field. So then if you run the prototype on the device, tap it, it triggers the native keyboard, you can actually type in the input field, and you just get a super realistic prototype. And then this last one, I haven't actually used this one, but I think it's really cool that it exists. It's called a view controller. There's a Sketch plugin tool you can kind of see there, which lets you like link all your artboards together and then pull them into Framer. And you can kind of build like an Envision style prototype without actually writing code. It's going to set up a bunch of things for you. So if you're interested in getting into Framer and you want to try it out without necessarily having to write some code by hand, you can do that. Check out the view controller and it's going to set you up. finally, the Framer community. I think it's one of the best features of Framer. So there's all these people doing these open source modules. They have a really active Facebook group, really active Slack group. I think there's like over 10,000 people in the Facebook group. And they're incredibly generous with their time. I yet to run into a problem that I get stuck on because I didn't know how to code it. When I get stuck, I go ahead and post projects there and say, this is what I'm trying to do. Here's my project. Can somebody help me out with that? And if it's during the workday, honestly, I'll usually get responses within an hour. So I'm not even waiting very long. And then I've also had people like pull down my project, code up a solution for me, send my project back to me with the code annotated on how I can do things better. And you're just like, do you actually have a job? I don't have time to do that for anybody else, but I appreciate it. But it's super helpful. Like I feel like I have like mentors like all over the world because people have jumped in and helped out, and we learn how to be more efficient with your code. And you know, each project I do, you kind of level up and learn new skills. And so you're never alone. You're not just like going to be stuck, like sitting at your desk, not knowing how to build things. Like post your project, people jump in, they're super helpful. Yeah, it's a really great way to learn. So with that, I want to get into a bit of a live demo here. So because live coding always goes well. So this is a framework that you've never seen before. It's a pretty simple interface. You write some code on the left, and live updates code is there on the right. There's a whole bunch of devices you can choose from here. It has all the Apple devices, has Google and Android devices, even Microsoft. And then it also has a desktop browser, which is nice. Another complaint I see about other tools sometimes is that they're kind of mobile only. They're really set up to let you build mobile prototypes. Framer does web prototypes really well. We don't do it a lot. We've done it a handful of times, but you can just change some settings and be up and running with a which is that. Hands there, in case you forget what it looks like. I don't know who uses those things. People do. I see it on the So, Framer, a couple months ago, right after I signed up to do this talk, they had this big release where they launched some new features that actually let you do a lot of things without writing any code by hand. So I want to kind of show you some of that stuff first. And also, I just want to say, like, this is not intended to be a step-by-step tutorial. I don't expect that you're going to walk away from here today and be able to like start busting out your own prototypes. I just kind of want to give you a sense of what building prototypes in Framer is like, and hopefully you'll feel like it's maybe a little more approachable than you originally thought. So first thing we're going to do is go to this insert menu here, and I'm going to insert a layer. Everything in Framer is built around the idea of layers, which should feel pretty familiar if you've worked in any sort of design project at all. And so that gives you this box over here, and you can actually drag this box and move it around. And as you do that, you'll notice the code on the left there, the X and Y positions are updated. So I'm going to drag a box down here like this. And you can even hold down Option and resizes like you'd expect. To make something that kind of resembles a button here. Then you have this palette here, which lets you do things, again, very similar to what you do in Sketch. So I'm going to change the radius on this to 6. And I'll change the background color. That's sort of a nice thing to do there. It's looking good. And so there we go. I'll layer out and running. Now, one of the most important lessons in coding that you should learn is to name things clearly. You will save yourselves a lot of headaches if you name things clearly. So I'm just going to call this layer button. And then I'm going to make another layer. And do a similar thing to that. Just drag it over to the middle. Let's make it a little bigger. I think this box should be the other one. There we go. call this layer box. So now we have a button and a box. Brilliant. So there are several ways to handle building animations in Framer. Depending on what you're trying to do, there's different reasons to do different methods. But one of the methods I use most frequently is setting up something called states. You're probably familiar with the idea of states. We use states, everything, cover states, build states, all that kind of stuff. It's a similar concept. And so on any of your layers, you can say, I want this layer to have these states, which will then later let the toggle tree. So let's set a state on the box. When I do that, it kind of puts me back into the edit mode for this state, which is called state 8. So I'm going to just move this over here to the corner, and let's see. Actually, let's just slide it over. Let's throw in a few more states here. State B, go to the corner, scale down further, go. And I'm also going to change the opacity. And right now, my creative juices are flowing. So instead of just space, one more space is 3 party. And let's change the rotation. Right up there, looks good. Alright. So now we've got some states set up on our layer, but they don't do anything yet. So what I want to happen is when I tap the button, I want to move that box somehow. So to do that, set up something called an event. Again, it's probably a pretty familiar concept. So we're going to set up an event on the button. So what's really cool is Framer gives you access to all sorts of events that you don't necessarily get access to with some other tool. So there's click events, touch events, mouse events, drag, pinch, scale, rotate, which are all multi-touch events. So if you actually want to do a prototype, you can actually do multi-touch and see what that interaction looks and feels like. So basically, one force tap on iOS devices, it actually hooks in and will give you access to be able to read like the amount of pressure that's being put on the screen from just 3D touch. So like the harder you press, the bigger the box get, you can get that kind of effect. It has a long press, pan, swipe. And then within all those events, you can get access to even more detail. So on a very basic level, for a tap event, you have tap, and then you have tap start and tap end, which are really helpful. So you can fire events based on when the touch starts, and then you can fire a different event when the touch ends. So like a touch state, is kind of how you build that out. And just one more example of where this is kind of really important really quick. So when we talk about prototyping, I think a lot of times the focus is completely on motion. We're really just talking about motion design. But a good prototype will also let you test out some of the logic that you're going to need to insert into the app. So again, building in a CoffeeScript lets you put conditionals in there and lets you kind of do a proof of concept on the logic. But not just see how the motion feels, but also like build out and feel how the interaction is actually going to work. So an example we had recently, Court, one of our designers here, had this idea for this slide to submit interaction. And when I went in to build this, I realized there's actually a lot more detail here than maybe you would first think. So in this one, you start sliding it, but if I slide it less than halfway, I want it to go back, right? And also, I wanted to tie the movement of that slide to submit text to the movement of the slider. So I was able to hook that up and actually get a feel for how that works. And when fade out and all that stuff. And like all these fine details are available to tweak. I could have, when you let go of this, we could make that thing bounce like crazy if you wish to. And then the last kind of one is like, okay, if I slide and it's more than halfway, I want it to go ahead and complete the animation. And so, you know, you could totally build this out in just an animation tool, and that would be fine. It helps kind of convey the idea. But if you actually want to put it in people's hands and let them use it and see what it feels like to work with it, and kind of feel where those like little hiccups are going to happen, having access to like all those touch events and stuff is super helpful.
How long did it take to put that prototype together?
Well, this prototype is actually, that's one screen on a much longer prototype.
Sure.
So I probably spent 3 or 4 days on it total. So not too bad. It's much less expensive than having your engineer do it.
What about just that animation?
Just that animation? Oh, I probably did that in the morning. Yeah, again, like, I wouldn't expect that you're going to do that like the first day of using Framer. This is after using it for like 8 months. But yeah, it really goes pretty quick because the Framer framework really gives you access to, it sets things up in a way that you would expect because it's a prototype tool. It's built to do these kinds of.
I noticed it has a Z axis. Do you use that ever, or do you just use your, or does it just layer things into?
Yeah, it just layers things, and you can. So yeah, this is mine. You can see how big this project is. Yeah, you can move things up and down in that Z axis. And so yeah, I use that quite a bit.
You do.
And I'll get to that a little bit later. Like when we close our sketch, it'll preserve that later. So back to our sweet app that we're building here. If I want to make this button control as a box, we're going to set up an event there. And we're just going to keep it simple. We're going to do a tap event. It's going to give me that. And so here is where we're actually going to here's where we're actually going to have to write our first line. So we set up those states earlier, so now I just want to tell the button to switch the state. So let's say box, that's states, let's switch. And you can see it gives you kind of code hints as you go along, kind of gives you an idea of what options are available to you. And we're going to switch it to state A. So now, tap that. Beautiful, there we go. Except for now, if I keep tapping it, nothing happens. So actually what would probably be a better idea is if instead of just switching to state A, if every time I tap the button, if it went to the next state, that would probably make this app even better. So to do that is really easy. You just say next. And now it is just going to toggle through all these states that I set up. Oh, so that's not what I said happened. So to do that, we can go back and edit the state C. And what we really wanted this to come back to the middle. And I wanted the opacity to come back up. And we want to set the scale back up, not that. Let's do it at 1. All right, so now let's try that again. There we go. There's actually technically a 4th state here that I didn't write, which is called default. So, and that's just the way the layer was originally set up in the prototype. So, which is actually really handy because the number of times we need to get back to the default state on the layer is almost all the time. So now, yeah, we just keep working through this all day long. We're just going to keep cycling through. So that's great, but that's pretty slow animation. And the way to make your animations feel interesting, feel unique, is by setting custom easing curves. And so I have a snippet set up here that pulls in some easing curves that I've defined previously. Take these and move to the top real quick. So what's cool about this is it just uses like CSS syntax for setting up your easing curves. You can go to qtbezier.com. There's a tool there that lets you figure out your easing curves, and then we'll give you the code for it. And then those curves, I actually did give to our developers a while ago. And so we have them available right now for us. So I know And when I tell our developers, hey, this thing moves across this distance and uses a slide in or slide out using curve, I know exactly how the animation is going to feel when it comes back after they've worked on it. And so it helps us speak the same language a lot. I don't have to tell them the exact verse for the easy curve every time. And there are other curves that you do train besides cubic bezier, but those are found to be the most easy to translate into real app. So now that I've dropped in my custom easy curves and I have some defaults set up on my time, just go a little quicker. All right, cool. So that's rocking. This is all great, but this is not how I typically work, actually. There are people that have started doing like all their design in Framer. I'm not one of those people. Usually though, like I said earlier, we start our designs in Sketch. And Framer has a really great Sketch importing tool. So I've got a Sketch document here that I set up. And I found with a lot of other tools that have Sketch import, there's a couple speed bumps I run into. One is that they like bring in all your layers into the prototype, and it just kind of makes a mess of things. I typically don't want all my sketch layers in the prototype because I only need access to some of them. And I also don't want the layer structure that I have for like working on the layout is not the same layer structure that I want when building the prototype. And so the sketch import tool also lets you kind of control how the layers come in. So if you put an asterisk on a layer like that, you can see that status bar layer there, it's going to flatten when it comes in. So there's like this battery, Wi-Fi, service, time. Like I don't need those as extra layers in the prototype, so I just flatten those when they come in, and the status bar comes in as one single layer. It just keeps things clear. And then, yeah, as far as like z-index and stuff, it's going to preserve that structure from your sketch document and bring it in. So you can set up your parent and child layers just the way you want them. I still typically take our working file and create a new page in the sketch file called prototype, and where I restructure my layers there, because like I said, it tends to be different than our files. So we've got this set up, so now all we have to do is hit import. We always work at 1x for our mobile prototypes, but you can scale it up to 2x on import or whatever size you need. So now I import, boom, there we go. And you can see right here, the layer structure is what it was in the sketch document. So now, we'll just do a few quick things here. Let's build out this navigation for the interaction a little bit. So, to start off with, I know I'm going to need some states for that navigation tour. So, actually, the first thing I always do when bringing in sketch files, this is just personal preference, is rename the sketch variable to $, just less than. So we're going to say menu states add, and then I'm going to add an off state. And to do that, we just need to move the off state x value is going to be off screen. Now, what's nice is I don't remember exactly what the resolution is on the 6S we have here, but that's okay. You can just do screened up width. And the framer's going to know, it's going to put in the width of the screen there, so that when I call that state, it's going to move it to the width of the screen, which is going to be the right side of the screen in this case. And we kind of want this state to be the default state, right? So menu.states, and I can do switch instant. So now, if I say off, it's gone. So now we're set up. And you can still see it's cool if you hover over the menu here, a couple things happen. If you're hovering over the menu there, you can see the blue highlighted on the right, you can see where that layer is located. And then also over here in your code, it's going to highlight where that layer is being referred to in your code, which is super handy, especially when you get a bigger, longer, complex prototype and you're trying to find, like, where did I do that thing? You can just go to the layer in the palette here, and it's not going to do it this one because it's a short version. But if you click on it, it's going to actually like move through your code and show you, here's where it's referenced, here's where it's referenced, here's where it's referenced. So it makes things super easy. So now, what we want to happen is we click this hamburger button and it slides the menu out. No debates about the hamburger button right now, settle down. You know, the way I brought in my layers, I don't actually have a way to like tap directly on this hamburger button. So here's where it's kind of nice. You can kind of combine your design in Sketch with being able to create layers in the framer. So I'm going to create a new layer that we're going to call menu button. New layer. And you can kind of see it in gray pop up there. And the first thing I'm going to do is I want to move it into a child layer as a dashboard. So just say parents and dashboard. And boom. So then you can see it moved in the layer structure there. So now, positioning things is one of those things that is not easier to do with code. So it's nice. I can just put it in edit mode and drag it over. Resize it, and basically all I'm doing right now is creating a hotspot. So that looks good, but I don't really want that gray on top of it, so I'm going to change the background color and I'm just going to make it empty. Yeah. So now we just have an invisible layer there that we can do things with. So now we just need to set up some events with that menu button. And I'm going to say on tap. Put a little arrow deal after that, and now we just need to switch the state of that menu that we set up earlier. So menu that states switch, and we are going to say this is where we're calling the default state at the beginning, because that's the way I originally named the framer. Oh, you know what? I don't want dollars on that for Sketch. Error handling, also a good feature. Framer really does a pretty good job of like pointing to where the errors in the code are and so on. So now, if I click that, boom, there we go. Now I have no way to get rid of it. So, fix that. What we want to happen is, you know, basically that slides out and when I click over here, I don't put the menu straight away. So I'm going to set up a tap event on this dashboard cards layer. There. And we're going to switch the state of menu again. And states and switch. And now we're going to let this menu move off. Now put that there, and there we go. Back and forth all day long.
And that's picking up the easing stuff you put in that?
So yeah, yep, that's picking up the easing. We could totally change that if I want to change the default timing and stuff here.
So by default, is everything just slide in and out, or how do you?
So by default, like if you don't have custom easing curve set up, I think it has just a generic ease curve. It's fine, but when it gets into actually like how developers build it, I'll use a custom. So now it works a little bit. And there are a lot. You can always override these things later. It just makes it much easier to create consistent animations when I can set one value and then that's going to copy it to all animations. So yeah, we've got that on and off. But I think for something else that would be interesting to do is to kind of push that dashboard back a little bit, just be a little more visually interesting. So to do that, let's set up another state on the dashboard. And I'm going to call this state back. Background. Sometimes they are. And to get that effect, we're going to change the scale. We're going to change it to 95. And also change the opacity. We're going to fade it back. So now what's nice is, again, going into edit mode, I can get kind of a preview of what that state's going to look like. I just put this little button here. And we go. So now let's just kind of push back, fit it back a little bit. And so now we just need to add that state change to the events that we set. Switch and sit back. So now for this, there we go. That color action there. It does not come back because we did not call it back to the default state. So switch. There we go. Roll back there. We're done. And we're done. Ship it. All right. No, but from here, what's nice is you can actually then really start exploring. So we've got this back state here. And there's all these filters here. So if I wanted to do something like add a blur to it, because that's hot, you can add a little blur to it. So what's nice is you have some level of design control within Framer. You don't have to go back to your sketch file, apply the blur, re-import the sketch file, and then like move your layers around and yada 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 in order to get that blur effect to happen. You can just try it out real quick and see if you like it. So there we go. We've got that blur. So now it's even gonna get that blur. And yeah, there's just all sorts of crazy things you can do with that. So then, kind of the last feature that I find incredibly helpful, probably one of the things that's been one of the biggest wins for us as far as using Framer and NX, is being able to share it. This is always a big pain point for a lot of other project tools. It's like you build this beautiful thing, and then you're limited to the options of one, recording a movie or exporting a GIF, at which point the prototype's no longer interactive. So that's kind of a bummer. Or if you can share it, it requires the people who want to view it to like install, if it's a mobile prototype, they have to install some sort of like viewer app or something. This is how Pixate worked when I was using that. I sent it to people and like, well, you have to install the Pixate app and then you can use it, which then what happens is most people just don't. So it's really nice just to be able to share a link. So Framer, you just hit share and you have to save it first. So I'm going to hit save, and then it's going to say, are you sure you want to share this? Yes, I am. And it's going to kick it up to Framer's cloud service in a second here. If I have internet connection still. Oh, okay, it must not give you the notification. Oh, that might do not disturb one. That's why. So usually I get a notification saying that's been copied to my clipboard. But here you can see it's running in browser right now. So you can send that to people. They don't have to install anything. They can just look at it quick. If they open it on phone, you can interact with it on the phone on iOS. If you do like the save link to home screen thing, it's going to save an icon to your home screen. When you launch that, it's going to launch it as a full screen app. So it's super realistic feeling. It's really nice for like remote user testing and stuff like that. And so, for me, building prototypes is if I'm not able to share it with anyone, it's kind of pointless because building a prototype is really a communication. That's the biggest benefit of it. And so being able to easily just pick it up and share it with people is, like I said, it's been one of the biggest wins for us with using Framer. So finally, just a few quick tips to get you started if you are all interested in picking up Framer. First off, for your first projects, keep them small in scope. Focus on one interaction. Don't try and do a whole multi-stream flow. You're going to get overwhelmed. If you do get stuck, like I said earlier, search the Facebook group. There's a good chance somebody else has already had your question. If not, post it in there. You get responses pretty quickly. And then along the way, download sample projects. People are posting their projects in the Facebook and Slack groups all the time. There's lots of sample projects on the Framer website. Pull those projects down, go through the code, try and understand every line of code. And that'll help you learn how to do things better, do things faster. And then just keep at it. These kinds of skills don't develop overnight, right? Like I wasn't able to build this that quickly the first day that I was using Framework. And then also, if there is interest, we've kind of talked about doing more hands-on demo, or hands-on work, I should say. So if you're interested in learning to build things with Framework, I would love to do a more hands-on thing where we all bring our laptops at some point and work on coding things together. In other cities, they have like Framework meetup groups. I would love to get something like that rolling, where we're learning to build things out and prototype things together, sharing knowledge. So definitely come talk to me afterwards if you have any interest in that. That could potentially be the next step after this. So yeah, just to wrap things up, just want to say I'm not going to try and stand up here and convince you that like learning to code is easy. Because I don't want you to give up when it gets hard, when it gets difficult, when it gets confusing. And it will get to be all of those things. I get stuck, I get confused quite frequently. It's totally normal. But I think it's worth it. I think you'll feel empowered. I think it'll open up a lot of possibilities for what you can accomplish with your designs. I think it'll help you communicate with your development better. And ultimately, make sure that your ideas actually make it into the real life. That's, at the end of the day, what we care about. So, thanks again for coming out. That's about all I have for you.